Healing is a process of seeing yourself. I think we all have different times where we get little windows into ourselves, and when we're ready, we actually take that step to see ourselves. Because up until then, we've had many opportunities through the conflicts that we have with others and our own behavior and how people respond to us because of our own behavior. But if we're not ready, what we do is we see it only from our own perspective. And so we don't get the healing that we would normally get because we're not really ready to look at ourselves first. Some of the most basic things that we could look at while we're healing and while we are evolving is, how do we respond? And I think for a lot of people, when we're learning how to own our power and how to heal ourselves, how to be honest with ourselves and really see who we are, we react, we don't respond. Because we're a cluster of hurt feelings, traumas, emotions. And although that's all part of our history that we accept, when we don't deal with those things and we don't look at those things as part of our history, but we are still reacting from a place of pain, it keeps us from understanding that we can own all of that and still have our power. And so we don't react, we respond. I always say that when we react, we are giving away all of our power. When we respond, we are owning our power. Now, anyone could change at any age. So there is no age limit. There is never a time where you give up on somebody and say that they can't because of their age or how set in their ways they are. We don't get to determine that because we don't know what that final straw will be that will make somebody finally look at themselves to make meaningful change. When we're still dealing with our traumas, we are oscillating between parts of ourselves that we've done work on and parts of ourselves that are still stuck in trauma reaction. So healing never always takes place in just one swift motion, but in pieces of ourselves. We deal with one thing at a time, and sometimes we deal with multiple things at a time, but there's always healing to be done. And sometimes some of the biggest issues that we have take a really long time to get to the heart of the matter, perhaps because they're the most painful that it takes the longest for us to look at. So the question becomes, what is healing? Healing is really the openness to see yourself and to want the highest quality life for yourself and being willing to take on the trauma and the pain in order to have a better life, to be healthy, to see what your life can become. And when there's not a willingness to do that, the reactions will continue. The conflict with others will continue because of those reactions. And that particular area of your life will continue to be a consistent problem until you're willing to be open and to really look at yourself and be honest with yourself. You see, the archetype of a victim sees enemies everywhere. We've all had bad things happen to us, and some of these things have caused trauma. And attached to this reactive emotions is a victim standpoint. We're still stuck in that part of ourselves that is in pain, who identifies as the victim of somebody else or some other circumstance. But when we carry that throughout our whole life, it becomes toxic, something unhealthy for us. And until we do the work to move on, that area of our life is going to continue to affect like a root. It's going to affect every outgrowth in our life in one way or the other. So just like physical healing, one must be open. When we want to let in healing energy, we open ourselves up and we call in the energy, and we allow it to come down and cascade into our body, and we visualize it. But when we are not open to it, it's a closed vessel. We're not allowing that positive energy to flow through our body, then we're just stuck with the outgrowth of the toxic thing that we are uncomfortable with. So healing is a choice in consciousness, coupled with a willingness to see all the tiny little pieces of yourself and how they all fit together, and finding that piece or pieces that are out of place and doing the work that is necessary to correct it so that they can all fit together. And once we do that and we remain open to that, the world becomes a more friendly place. We're no longer identifying ourselves as a victim, and therefore we don't have to react to everything, because we see that we have power to guide and direct our own life, and that we can have happiness without being constantly guided by explosive emotions that exhaust us, that destroy our relationships. Healing is indeed a choice, and one that we all get to make.